Transformers Animated is one of the best Transformers series and most well crafted. So let's talk about it. Our tale begins all the way back December 26, 2007, with Transformers Rollout Part 1. The episode begins with our intro. There's a grid pattern like old Transformer packaging as we fly down a garage showing off the main Autobots. It looks like there should be credits, but there isn't, and we sort of spoil the Earth modes and the Decepticons. The song itself is just a remix of the Transformers theme. It's alright, but nothing really special. But if you lived in Japan, you got to see a full-on anime intro. The episode properly begins with clips from Transformers G1's first episode and the episode War Dawn. You get to see Megatron here. It's not saying that G1's in continuity, it's just using the clips to show the past, while giving us an Easter egg for G1, as Optimus is watching basically the Space History channel before it became the Space Pawn Star channel. The narration's by Corey Burden, an awesome voice actor with amazing range that's been around the franchise since G1, and he's basically trying to sound like the old G1 narrator.
And inspiring countless generations of robots yet to come online. What a loader!
This ray of sunshine is our Ratchet for the series, played by Corey Burden. Rule of thumb, if I say Corey Burden, take a shot.
Why do you waste your time with those old history vids?
Our Optimus is played by David Kaye, which is funny because he also plays Megatron in Beast Wars and Armada.
All the great Autobot leaders learned from the past.
The Great Wars ended centuries ago.
Their spaceship, of course, resembles the Ark from G1.
But you were there, Ratchet. You saw some action. What were the Decepticons really like?
Trust me, kid, you're better off not knowing.
I really like this interaction between the two, showing that Ratchet's been around the block already, and our Optimus isn't our normal, wise, stoic leader, but instead, bright-eyed and experienced leader.
Looks like the young bots could use a hand.
Bumblebee! My wrecking ball's stuck again!
Kind of obvious, but yes, Bulkhead is played by Patrick. They're here to repair space bridges, which has been a thing since G1, but here they're these giant, football goalposts. Stargates rather than being a big station they teleport from. Optimus and Ratchet transform, and I love their Cybertronian vehicles. It kind of also shows their characters, of Optimus having a very futuristic truck. Appreciate we can see in the windscreen, but there's not really anything in there like seats or anything because they weren't need to be. And Ratchet is basically just on his hands and knees, when Optimus is a little more complicated. I like the detail that these headlight things that would be on his arms actually go all the way down to his thighs. They roll out. Instead of Ironhide, they're using Bulkhead, who's been a character name they've had for a while, but this is essentially an original character, unless you live in Japan and he's Ironhide. And with him is Bumblebee, played by the great Bumper Robinson. They get into shenanigans unearthing the space bridge. The show does a lot of really nice world-building notes, like instead of saying God-forsaken sector, Bulkhead says all-spark-forsaken sector, or referring to body parts with mechanical equivalents. I probably won't point them all out, but I really like it when it happens. They get to clearing out the area. Optimus has a battle axe, and Ratchet has these little things that pop out of his arms that create electromagnetism. The bot throwing around shurikens is Prowl, played by the great Jeff Bennett.
That would just mess up my timing.
I like his first line too, because it shows that he's cool and doesn't need to say that much.
Young bots. Can't live with them. Can't melt them down for spare parts.
Okay, I know we're stuck out here in the middle of nowhere on a thankless assignment. But remember, we're all cogs in a great big Autobot machine.
The cog has betrayed them.
Bad choice of words, big bot!
Beast Wars reference. Another Beast Wars reference, because Optimus does have a faceplate that he wears sometimes, but not as often as you would think. Optimus also has a grappling hook, he can shoot foam out of his arm, his axe has a rocket on it, and the handle can even extend. Optimus saves everyone and turns off the space bridge, saying they used to train at the academy, giving us an early sign about his past and the elite guard, which are a thing in the series. And they see something glowing and they find what looks like the Matrix. They have no idea what this is, but their onboard computer, Teletran 1, which is a reference to G1, played by Cree Summer, says that the Decepticons came out of extinction and hiding to find this thing. So Ratchet knows what this thing is, and they have to get out of here. Now they're on the ship, Ratchet explains that this is actually the Allspark, the most powerful energy source in the universe, and he gives the sparks, which are basically the souls of Transformers, which is a reference to the Bayverse films, which would have been brand new when this came out. And like the 2007 film, they tossed it out into space to get it out of the hands of the Decepticons. Here, they literally just chucked it into a space bridge and hoped it got away. I like their little command station layout, like Bumblebee being a little too small and those levers being absolutely massive. So they call the authorities, and Sentinel Prime picks up, played by the Tick, and that's what his design's also based off of.
Now how could a third-rate rockbuster possibly merit the Autobot Supreme Commander's attention?
And just with that, we already know we're doing something different with this series, because instead of Optimus, Ultra Magnus is the supreme leader of the Autobots.
Display cargo hold visual.
I'll put you through right away.
I love that Sentinel immediately recognized the situation. He patches him over the President Ultra Magnus in his soul patch, also played by Jeff Bennett, and he says to stay put, they'll send a team, don't be a hero, Optimus. So Optimus decides to be a hero and get out of there. Unfortunately, they're flying above a gigantic Decepticon ship. On board, we see very cool lighting and two very opposite Decepticons. Our Starscream is played by Tom Kenny, doing basically his Ice King voice. And to oppose him is the unique character Lugnut, who is a fanatic Megatron loyalist. Ironically, he's also played by David Kaye. Beast Wars reference, we have Black Arachnia for some reason. She's dismissive and played by Cree Summer. She gets shot by Blitzwing. He has ice powers, and he's also played by Bumper Robinson. His gimmick is he's also crazy and has 3 different personalities. We got like a Nazi doctor with a monocle, his G1-inspired head with a visor, and he does like an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, and his crazy jack-o'-lantern head. Also, Black Arachnia has an organic form, which everyone thinks is gross. They argue, but then Megatron, played by Corey Burden, steps on the bridge and immediately everyone shuts up and steps in line, showing his power as well as being way taller than everyone else. And despite saying just to cripple the Autobot ship, they use a giant beam at them. Optimus tries using codename Omega, which will probably never come back up, because remember, there's an oil embargo. Bumblebee says we're all gonna die line from Beast Wars. Starscream tries brown-nosing, but Megatron hasn't been searching for the Avatar, the Allspark, for 4 million years just for nothing. He's going himself. And Starscream gives him a pat on the back of encouragement, with a little bit of a surprise. Megs flies over. I love that his fusion cannon is the same sound effect from G1. Optimus tries using some grabby arms, but then that bomb Starscream planet goes off. I think you can tell the outline of Megatron from the explosion. Like literally a frame. So Optimus puts it in manual, but the Allspark sends them through the space bridge and blows it up behind them. Starscream is a little too busy gloating that he's going to be the self-appointed new leader to realize that everyone has escaped. As the ship gets eaten by the explosion, the Autobots have been sent to Earth. You can kind of tell the form of the southern half of Africa and Madagascar. But oh no, Megatron has survived, but a little less handy. And he wants the Allspark to make it into a big weapon. They turn off the gravity and shenanigans. Megatron has a sword, but Prowl has holograms and he cuts off what little left of his other arm. Prowl also has a battle mask that I don't remember seeing super often. Wretched throws that little bit of arm back at Megs, but he crashes into the controls. They're going down! Megs actually pins Optimus, but Big Bot, thinking fast, uses his axe and opens the pod bay doors, kicking Megatron out. Then we cut to Paw. Back when I first saw this when I was like 6 years old, I immediately got this reference, but I'm pretty sure 99% of the people watching this do not know. It is, in fact, an actual town in Michigan. The best place in the world, Southwest Michigan, which is my neck of the woods. And of course, no one will pull a reference like that without being related to the area, so of course Derek J. White is from Paw. And we see a farm, a bunch of satellites, telescopes sticking out of a place labeled Sumdac. We see a kid inside playing with machines until something lands in his yard. That's Meg's head. He's so surprised he doesn't notice the other shooting star. It's the Autobot ship zipping through the city of Paw, or maybe this is Kalamazoo. The Autobots go into stasis, but Optimus decides to stay awake long enough to get to safety as they crash into Lake Erie, even though Lake Erie is on the complete opposite side of Michigan. And there is definitely enough empty fields and farmland and woods they could have crashed in instead of, given that Optimus just didn't want to crash into the population center. They go into stasis. I like that they had an extra stasis pod just in case. And 50 years later, someone talks about how Detroit used to be Motor City, and now the industry is back with robotics. As we zoom around New Detroit and its futuristic setting, robots are everywhere, and they're taking our jobs. This couple and their kids reference to Spike, Carly, and Daniel from Transformers G1. The person explaining this is that kid from earlier, Professor Sumdac, played by Tom Kenny doing a Western Indian impression. Also, Sumdac is Cadmus spelled backwards, for reasons. He's given a tour of the facility, which gets interrupted by his daughter, Sari, played by Tara Strong. She has a light orange dress and Uggs, and red pigtails, which seems to be the style of the future. Sari's a totally normal little girl, but we don't get to see much of her as she gets pulled away to her studies. This kid with the white eyes is clearly just Tara doing her Ben 10 voice, as we see that Sumdac is also making nanomachines, son. A cancer reference in a kid's cartoon, and they're injecting nanomachines into people to see if they can cure it. But first they're testing it out on bugs, which turns into a giant absorbing monster thing. Well, that's a weird way to end the episode. Other than a weird ending, this is a fine enough start. I really love the characterization we already get from the Autobot crew and setting up the Decepticons. Comedy's fine, I love the world building we already get in the episode, showing we're not the standard Transformer setting. The lead art director for the show is Derek J. White, who's probably one of my favorite artists in general. He also created shows like the Old Teen Titans series, Mystery Incorporated, and Ben 10 Omniverse, so if you're familiar with him, you should know we're going to see a lot of Easter eggs all over the place, and really detailed animation. I'll talk more about their designs when we see their Earth forms, but for Megatron, I love his design. His Cybertronian form is essentially just the 2007 Bayverse film, but better, because we can actually tell what's going on with him. The episode does a great job showing how big of a threat Megatron is. Literally, his foot's the size of a Bumblebee. They only ended up defeating him using their environment to their advantage. Even with everyone sharing a voice actor, the voice work is great. The whole ending with the giant bug thing is kind of weird, and they probably could have just spent a little more time showing us with the Transformers and then cut to 50 years for the next part. But overall, I'll give this episode a 6 out of 10. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for the rest of the series.